Well, welcome everybody. If you're just joining us, my name is David Willis, and I'm with Leather Craftsmen. If you want to ask questions today, you can either use the question dialog box. It's going to be right there in your GoToWebinar control panel. So just type in your question, or if it's easier for you, you can email me, David, at leathercraftsman.com. The email address is right there on the screen in that title slide. Leather Craftsman has been producing books, flush mount albums, since 1942, and one of the biggest challenges that I hear today is designing books and how long it takes and how hard it is to get motivated to do albums, and designing albums is just not fun anymore. And Andrew Funderburg, who's our guest today, goes by the name of Fundy, which I love the name. I've been watching him since. I've been watching you, Andrew. Welcome. This is our. You can go ahead and chime in if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Andrew has been established Fundy software back in 2008, and they have quickly become one of the leaders in album building software. Plus, they have other products as well. So I want to go ahead and turn over the program to Fundy. I'm just excited to learn how to use the Fundy Album building software. And for those of you that are asking if this is going to be recorded, and we are recording it, if the audio turns out good, and I think it will, then we are going to be able to put it up on our YouTube channel, and everybody will get the link to that.
Great, and we'll share that on all of our social media and blog too, and so we can get a lot more people viewing it also.
All right.
So yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
I'm sending it your way.
Okay. All right. Let me know when my screen shows up.
All right. I can see it.
All right. So just so you know, as you said, we were established in 2008. Our entire goal is to help photographers be successful. When I was shooting, I don't shoot much anymore, but when I was shooting weddings and portraits, one of my big issues was being able to design albums quickly without a headache. And one of the problems is that I felt like I was tied into a bunch of templates and I felt that I was spending all of my time searching for a template that would fit my images, and it just got really frustrating. And so I started dabbling and created Album Builder, and we kept improving it. And then in end of 2011, 2012, we got the Hot One Award for Best Album Design Software. We're really happy about that because we're probably the newest solution out there. And we surveyed our users, and most people say they cut their album design time in half, if not more. And that's what we're all about. We just want photographers to be successful. As you're watching this, if you want to try it out, we have a free trial. It's a non-watermark trial. You can design as many albums as you want during the free trial. We had one guy come up to us at a trade show and said he downloaded the trial and designed 4 albums in one day before he got on the plane to come to WPPI. So that's a good use of your free trial if you're that motivated. So I'm going to go ahead and close out here. So we're in Photoshop. It's Photoshop plugin. Let me move. Trying to get to see everything here with the Scope to Webinar panel here. All right, it's Photoshop plugin. I have a bunch of plugins loaded up here. We have a few different products. We have Actionmatic, Action Panel. We have Blog Collage. Maybe I'll show you that later, which is kind of like a mini album builder just for blog collages. Image Brander for branding your images to protect them on Facebook and your blog. Workflow. And we have Album Builder. And some of the questions that David was nice enough to share with us is that one of the questions is why use Album Builder over another program? And there are a few other programs mentioned. And I think the main reason is that we at our company are so dedicated to photographers being successful and being able to make albums a really profitable source for their studio, and part of that profit is being able to design their albums quickly and elegantly and get them to their clients as fast as possible. And so one of the things I want to show you is a few things that makes Album Builder different is that you're able to use free design and templates much faster than other programs out there. And also, since we're in Photoshop, you're able to edit or adjust images with all your other actions and plugins you have in Photoshop. You know, everybody has a bunch of actions in their action palette and a bunch of plugins in their filters from other vendors. And our philosophy with what we want photographers to do is we want to have everything open source, so they're able to use all these other tools that they have in Photoshop while they use our tools. You know, we don't want to be proprietary where you have to use only the stuff we create, because there's so much great stuff out there. So I'm just going to go ahead and set up a Leather Craftsman album here. So the first thing you want to do is hit Create Album. And we're going to start a new album. And the first section is your guide section. And we have an 1/8 of an inch and a 1/2 of an inch, which is what Leather Craftsman recommends. This 25 and 50% will also put a guide down the middle of your spread and down the middle of your pages, making it easier to align things in the center. I'm going to go ahead and just skip the cover. And then under Album Sets, we're going to scroll down here to the Leather Craftsman section. And let's go ahead and do a hinge list. Is that what we want to do today?
100 series.
Hinge list flush mount?
Yeah, let's do a 3500 series. That's the most popular.
Okay. All right, let's do a 3500. Let's go ahead and do a 10 by 10. And we're going to go, just for the demonstration, I'm going to just design only spreads just so we can see that. So for our first and last page, and so I'll go 3500 series and find my 10 by 10. And we see we have a ton of sizes in here. You guys are great. You have like pretty much every size on the planet for people. And we'll choose our output folder. And I'm just going to go on my desktop, and I have a folder named LC Webinar. I hit open, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the Start Album button, and it's going to create those sizes for me and get everything up and running, and then we'll start designing. So the great thing is that we're here in Photoshop. It's Photoshop, so at any time if you want to use a gradient tool, text tool, anything, you can do that at this time. And I'm going to open up some images in Bridge here. We have some wonderful images by a California photographer, Michael Corsentino. And when I'm designing an album, I like to go ahead, this is just a nice little tip that you can use designing albums with any programs. I like to separate them into pages. So I pre-organize my album, and so I don't have to, you know, try to decide what images I want to use while I'm designing. I go ahead and organize those before I start designing. So let's just do a little, you know, groom getting ready design here. I'd like to use this as a main image, and these two as supporting images. And one of the easiest ways to design, all of our design tools are right here in Ninja Layout and the Browse Templates. Ninja Layout is more of your it's kind of like free design on steroids. So it's kind of like free design, but it does all the hard work for you. So I'm going to hit Super Ninja, and left side I want a full bleed. I want that main image full bleed on the left side, and on the opposite side I have 2 horizontals. So let me just show you that again, right? Main image on the left side I'm going to do full bleed, and the right side I have 2 horizontals. And I hit OK, and there it is. There's the design. And that's the difference between Album Builder and other programs, is that you just tell it what you need and you design it. And once it's ready to go, I'm just going to hit Fill from Bridge, and it's going to pull those images from Bridge. And you can, you know, move it around in the image in the box before you lock it in. I hit the return key on my keyboard, locks that in there. Looks great. And there we go. So, you know, this is what sets Album Builder apart, is it lets you free design in split seconds, and, you know, we have a spread in about a minute. One of the questions was, before the webinar, David, you mentioned, is how do you feel about black and white and color together? And I think this is a really good example. I think that black and white and color on the same spread can work. I think that it only works when you have somewhat muted colors. And this image on the left, if we leave this in color, and these images on the right we turn into black and white. I think that might be a nice spread. And one of the things I mentioned in the beginning is how Album Builder works with Photoshop. So I'm going to select these two images on the right. I'm going to hit Apply Actions, and this is your action palette. Whatever you have loaded in your action palette will pull up here. So for example, I have some actions that I purchased from Kevin Kubota in like 2005, I think, 2004, you know, a long time ago. And I'm going to scroll down to my favorite Mocha black and white right here, and I just hit Use Action, and it's going to pull those images out onto their own layers and apply that action for me. And so that's one of the things that separates apart. If you are in a standalone program, a standalone album design program, you can't access Photoshop, and so you're stuck with their grayscale conversions for black and white or actions of any sort. And frankly, they just don't look as good as what Kevin Kubota or Boutwell or MCP Actions can create. So there's a spread. Once you're done, we'll just hit Save and Next. It saves everything out as a layered PSD. I'll show you, we can go right here in the LC webinar. Here's that page we just designed. Here's the current page we're on right now. And I'm just going to go into the next spread. We have some wonderful images of the bride getting ready. This is a nice Italian wedding. I wish that I could have gone to this. That would have been nice. So I'm going to make this the main image, and I'm going to make these supporting images. And I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to use Super Image Layout. I'm going to put the main image on the left side. We'll go full bleed. And I have two verticals and a horizontal left over. So I just tell it one vertical, or one horizontal and two verticals, no squares. And I just hit OK. And it builds it for me. So main image on the left, two verticals and a horizontal. And once this is on the page, we can play around with this. I'm going to make this little set a little bit smaller, move it off to the right, and I know that that other main vertical we have is really nice, so I'm going to pull it out over across the edge and maybe kind of blend it out. And I'm going to take a look at my layers palette, and I want to bring this main image all the way down here. And so we're going to pull these in from Bridge here, and that one's going to go in the main one. And I want to just make sure it's going to pull the correct images into the correct boxes. And you can see that it didn't, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select all the boxes. And number them, and these numbers will tell us what order it's going to pull in. So the first image, I'm going to go ahead and make Bridge a little bit smaller just so you can see what's going on here. Usually I like to design with two full screen monitors. And I have Bridge on one and Album Builder on the other. So number 4 is this image right here, so I'm going to put that the last. And then number 1 and 2, and then that will be number 3. So I'm just going to select all those and go ahead and fill those up. And so you can just rearrange your images in Bridge so that they go into the correct boxes. And there we go. And I see, you know, when these images were processed by Michael Corstini, the photographer, and he processed this one black and white, but the others aren't black and white. So I know that he used a Kevin Kubota tool. So I'm gonna apply. I believe it was Ron's God that he used. And so I'm going to go ahead and just apply that action to all of those so that they match up. And a lot of people ask, well, how about, what if we want a gradient into the background here? It's very easy. We're in Photoshop, so all we do is we use the gradient tool. So I have a gradient to transparency, and all you have to do is make sure you're on that image, pulled across, and we faded into the background. So that one's done. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and next. And we'll go on to the next folder. So here are 4 horizontals. And I don't really know what I want to do. So I'm going to open up our template browser. And I'm going to see what templates we have with 4 horizontals. So here's a nice template with 4 horizontals created by Frank Salas, another great WPPI and PPA speaker. All of our templates are designed by real working photographers. We have Frank Salas templates. We have Gene Higa, who was top 10 wedding photographer in the world. We have Anahi Navarro, international speaker. Michelle Turner, national speaker, international destination wedding photographer. So they're templates created by working photographers, not somebody sitting in the back room. So I'm going to choose this template. I'm just going to choose to add it to the spread. So it's going to pull that template up. And pop it in there. And then at that point, we can choose to rearrange things if we want, move them around. Resize. So I'm going to keep that one right there. This one, I think I want to turn it into a full bleed. And once the boxes are on the page, you just move them around however you want them. It's just kind of pick and play. So I'm going to go ahead and put some numbers in those so I know which order they're going to pull into. We can go back into Bridge while it's doing that. And I think this one right before she's, this is the first look. I want that one to be number 3. And then number 4, I want to be this one right there. And then those 2 can be 1 and 2. So I'm just going to select all of those and go ahead and fill those up from Bridge. So, so David, you see here, the main concept is that allowing the photographer to get the design on the page as quickly as possible with as many free design or template design options as possible. And once that design's on the page, you just fill it up.
It's fantastic.
So, and also you see that the images in Bridge, the colors change to kind of a pink-purple color. That signifies that those images have been used. So if you do have a big folder full of a ton of images, every time you pull an image from Bridge, it's going to tag that pink or purple. I don't know what that's, a lavender, I guess. And that will show the photographer that image has been used so they don't duplicate that image in the album somewhere.
While you're on this page, I got one question about guides. Somebody had asked, what is a guide? And I can answer that. But once they have their design already laid out, can they change the guides on the fly?
Yes and no. It's not very easy to change the guides on the fly, but you can go in and change them. It's more of a manual process, but we can show you if you ever get stuck. And that's one of the things that we really stress in our company. We have full-time support staff. We're on live support every day. So you get stuck, you just hop on live support, and we can show you how to do something. If you get stuck. And we're one of the few companies that does have live support, and we'll go on and we'll screen share with you because we want photographers to succeed. And obviously, if they succeed with our software, just as if they succeed with your albums, they're going to be happy and they're going to tell all their friends.
Well, to answer sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
I was going to say, to answer your question, Philip, what is a guide? Well, when we make a flush mount album, we need to glue the actual photograph or the spread onto a substrate, and then we trim off approximately 1/8 of an inch. And I say approximately because when they're shaving off the edges, they want to take as little material off as possible to get a nice smooth edge. And what we've found is that we remove about 1/8 of an inch. It's really never the exact same from the top and the bottom. So when we say guides, we want to put the 1/8 inch guide up there so that you can kind of see where the kill zone's gonna be. And then we want the 1/2 inch guide up there because that's kind of the safe zone. So if you have a straight line at the 1/2 inch mark, and then once the trimming's done, you don't really have that much of an optical challenge to see that the imperfections in the paper sizes are not perfect these days, not like printing in the darkroom when you had every single sheet of paper the same size. When they're coming out of these machines now, you have mechanical cutters, and they're as precise as they want to be, they're really not. If you've ever tried to measure a print that you get from a lab that's supposed to be 20 inches, it could be a 1/16 bigger or shorter because the paper size isn't 20. It comes a little short to start with. So that's why you want to have guides, Philip. So I give it back to you, Andrew.
Yeah, and I want to speak on that too. I've had photographers, call that were really angry with me or the album company because let's pretend. I like to give people a real world example because it's so important. So let's say this is the 1/8 of an inch guide that Leather Craftsman recommends, and the photographer designed the image to be right at that 1/8 inch of guide because they're thinking in their mind they want it cut right there. And what happens is the album company can't cut exactly. It's physically impossible. And so they end up with a little white, like a really tiny little white trim between the image and the edge of the page, and it looks really horrible. And I'm sure you've heard of this happening before, David. And the key is that when you have a guide and you have an image, either you want to go all the way to the edge of the page so that image is actually cut into, so you have a clean cut in that flush mount, or you want to stay well away from the guide so that you have a really nice white space between the edge of the image and the edge of the page.
Exactly.
So from a designer's point of view, I always, and I have a blog post on this exact topic, either stay well away from the guide or bleed clear off the page. Simple rule of thumb. And when you get really close to the guide, and you have an image with just a little bit of white space between the image and the edge of the paper, I think it looks really bad, just from a design aesthetic. So I try to keep well away or go completely off the edge. And we're in, and also a nice little trick in Photoshop. We're in Photoshop, so the command plus the minus and plus keys will help you zoom in and zoom out. So that's a nice little trick when you need to check your guides or alignment or something like that. So
have a couple
and save in. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I have a couple more questions. While you're on this topic, you were using some of your Photoshop actions. The question came through: does this work with Nik effects as well?
Well, let me show you. I don't have Nik effects loaded, but I can show you. Nik effects is a filter, and let me show you what you can do with filters. Is really, really cool. I'm going to go ahead and we have 4 images of the bride and groom dancing in this little gazebo area. Really cool. So I just want them all 4 lined up next to each other. So I'm going to do a grid maker. Imagine a grid, 4 across, 1 down. 2 by 2 will give you 4 images. I'm going to do 4 by 1, which will give us 4 images. So there's our 4 images, and I just center it on the page. And I'm going to go ahead and fill those up, and then I'll show exactly what you can do with Nik filters, even though I don't have them installed. I have On1, Topaz Labs, Portraiture, Portrait Professional. All of these functions are called filters instead of actions. And I'll show you something really, really cool. Totally Rad has some actions. They just came out with their own filter last week. And so this is really nice because it's a brand new filter, but since it's in Photoshop, it's automatically compatible with Album Builder. So what you would do is, I'm going to open Rad Labs. What you would do is you would go down into your filters here, and you would find Nik filters right in here in your filters, correct? So I'm going to open Rad Labs, and you'll get a preview just like you would in Nik Filters or On One or anything like that. And so he has all of these, looks. So I'm going to choose this. Let's go with this El Capitan. And I click Finish. And it's applying that function to this image right here. And then I just select the rest of the images and I click Apply Filter, and the last filter I used, I want to replicate that. So as you see, it's applying that filter to each image individual. I don't know if you can see that going through, David. Can you see those going through one by one? Did you see that, David?
Something's happening.
Yeah. Is the video a little bit?
Yeah, there's about a 4 or 5 second delay. Right now, all I see on your screen is white background, 4 images.
Okay, and so you'll see the Totally Rad filter pop up, and then it's going to go, it's going to go through each image one by one.
I'm not seeing that.
It's not seeing that? Okay.
Do it again.
Okay, let me just show you again. Let me do a more, that filter was not too huge as far as the difference between the original. So I'm going to do a grid maker. I'm going to do 4. I'm going to do 4 across, 1 down. I want them to be verticals. And I'm just going to pull those in again. And so the reason that I like Ninja Layout is that, I have 4 verticals. I don't want to spend 3 minutes looking for a template with 4 verticals when I know I just want to throw 4 verticals on the page. So you just tell Ninja Layout what to do. It creates the boxes perfectly aligned for you. You put them where you want, and then you're done. Okay. So, can you see the layout now, David?
Yep, I see it. Looks great.
So I am going to click on this first image on the left, and I'm going to open the Totally Rad filter. And you can see that now?
Yep.
Okay, let me find something that's very, very different from the original. Maybe a black and white one. There we go. Let's do a black and white one so we can really see it. Okay, so I'm applying that filter, and this would work this exact same as if you applied a Nik filter or On One or Topaz Labs or any filter in your filters.
Oh, now I see it.
So you see one black and white now?
Yep.
Okay, so now I'm going to select the rest of them, and I'm going to click Apply Filter, and I'm going to choose the last filter used. And so it's going to just replicate that last filter I used on all the rest of the images.
Now I see it.
Okay, yeah, it was the first filter I did wasn't really far enough from the original image. So the answer to Nik filters is yes, and that's how you do it. You choose one image, you apply the look you want to that one image, and then you just replicate it across the spread. It's really a huge time saver. Go for it.
You were talking about using Bridge on one screen and your album builder on another screen. I've got a question from the chat asking if you can do it from Lightroom instead of Bridge.
Well, so one thing, the answer is no, and the reason it's no is because Adobe doesn't allow Photoshop and Lightroom to communicate in terms of Lightroom being a browser. One thing that people forget is that Bridge isn't a competitor to Lightroom. When you're in Lightroom and you make all your changes, Bridge, while it can convert RAWs, its main function is just a browser. Right? All Bridge is an image browser. Right? You click on a folder and it shows you its images. So once you've made all your changes in Lightroom, you just open that folder in Bridge, you're going to see exactly the same thing that you see in Lightroom. And it takes up a lot less memory than Lightroom does. So if you're running Lightroom and Photoshop at the same time, your memory is going to get bogged down. And Bridge is pretty light on the memory, so it can be a lot faster.
How about importing from Photo Mechanic or simply the Finder?
Simply the Finder, yes. So I would love to import from Photo Mechanic. Since we are a Photoshop plugin, we're constrained by what Photoshop allows. And so the only image browser that Photoshop supports is Bridge. But you can go in through the Finder, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Let's go ahead and let me show you one trick. So I always encourage people to to have all their images in color and then change to black and white in the album design, because David, you probably know what happens when you give a beautiful spread to a bride to approve and all the images are in black and white. What does she ask for?
She wants them in color.
She wants them in color, right? So you got to go back in, you've got to go reprocess everything, or you can just select all these images and say use originals, and it goes and finds those color images for you and puts them back in. So we just told it to go find the original images that were in color, because we didn't change the original images. All we did was apply a black and white effect to the design. And so that's a huge time saver. So instead of having to go reprocess all your images, you just tell Album Builder, hey, throw the original color images back in there. So I'm going to hit save and next. I'm just going to save that out. Let's do another design right here with these. Let's go. Let me show you our mix and match templates if you're getting stuck. Let's say I have one horizontal. And so, okay, there's my one horizontal. I want to add that to the left side. And then on the other side, I have two verticals, and I'll add that to the right side. And since we have mix and match templates, you know, your 300 templates then becomes 9,000 options. So there's our design, and we can say, oh, you know what, I want that to be a little bit bigger. Take that to the edge of the page. And then the question was, can I fill through the browser? Yes, you can. You can just fill opening, and if you're on Windows and Mac, it works exactly the same. It's just a pop-up, and you browse your images just like you would if you are, getting ready to open an image in, from your Finder. So very simple. Red box. What image do you want in the red box? Just double click on it, and it goes into the red box.
Got a question about adding borders or strokes around the images and other graphic elements.
Yep.
Would you do that in the Album Builder, or would you do that after you export it into Photoshop?
Well, the thing is, you don't export into Photoshop. We're always in Photoshop.
Oh,
so, right?
Okay.
So we've never left Photoshop. So if you want simple keylines, we can just select all of these. We have a dedicated keyline button. We can add black keylines, white keylines. You can sample from the foreground color. You can do multiple effects if you want keylines and drop shadows at the same time, but I'll just add some black keylines right there. If you want to add a graphical element, so for example, let's say you wanted to put in, a background of some sort. You can simply, let's see, what's the easiest? Let's go ahead, and I'm going to go into my layers palette. Or you can do anything you want because we're in Photoshop. I'm just going to place texture. Go in my picture folders. I have some graphic elements. And I'm just going to add that there. I'm going to stretch this across the image. And then you just go into, I'm just going to go into my layers palette, and we'll just drag that down to the bottom background. And from there we can change the opacity if we want. And so, if you want to do more complex stuff, you can always pop the image out of the design and apply any graphic elements you have there. Also, let me show you a nice little trick. Let's say you have this image and the bride comes back and say, well, I have a little pimple on my nose. Can you get rid of that? And you're like, sure. So I'm going to select all these images, just click pop out the images. I'm going to pop them out onto their own layers. Right, so here are all the individual images. I'm going to go ahead and what we're going to do is we're going to run portraiture, one of my favorite skin softening filters. I hit OK on that one. So I just circled the bride's face. I usually don't use portraiture on men because I think it's a little too much. And then this one. And at this point, if you can do anything you want. You can use the liquify tool, spot healing brush, all these tools we have. And so we have all of these images open and our design open, and I just tell Album Builder to return the images, and it puts them back where they were with all those changes. So, if you have on-one software that has all these, grungy edges and stuff, you just pop the images out, put your grungy edges on, and throw them back in there.
Awesome. This is
a graphic authority, or whatever.
This is on the same lines, and I'm guessing that I know the answer to this question is, if you're doing this snap to the grid, is that since you're already in Photoshop? The question is, does Fundy snap to grid? Is the question.
It does. It does. There's only one caveat on there, is that this is a Photoshop thing. If you snap to grid with empty boxes, the edges of the boxes will snap to each other. But if you snap to grid with images in boxes, they snap to the edge of the image. So you can see the edge of my image is a little bit beyond my box. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
See the edge of the image?
Yeah.
So it'll snap to the edge of the image. But for example, these two images are placed exactly the same, and I do have snap to grid going right now, and so you can see it just snaps and they're perfectly aligned. And I'll zoom in. You can see, oops, I zoomed in on the wrong thing here. And so you can zoom in and see, everything's perfectly aligned just by using snap to grid. But the great thing about, let me go ahead and save it next. I want to show you just some designs that, quick designs you can do. A common design that I like to encourage people to do with when you have reception details, like, flowers and, signs and all the cool little reception details. Let's go into Grid Maker and go 8 across, 2 down. So 16 images. And our design's done. Now we have to do is fill them up. And the thing is that if you had 12 images, or you had 20 images, or you had 18 images, the speed of the design would have been exactly the same, because you aren't looking for a template, you're just telling it what you want. Let's do a Super Ninja layout. Let's say on the right side you wanted a vertical, and then on the left side you had 3 verticals and 1 horizontal and 2 squares. And there you have a perfectly simple, design. Everything's perfectly lined up, ready to go. So it's all about, a fast workflow and speed, and tools that are going to get your imagery in your albums that are going to sell as fast as possible. If it takes 3 hours to design an album versus 1 hour to design an album, your profits go up.
Got another question for you.
Yep.
How does Album Builder handle mask or PNG files for transparency?
Album Builder can pull in any Photoshop compatible document. So if it's a PNG, you can pull it in. If you want to, I assume what they're saying is they want to design on a transparent background, maybe for the web.
Could be.
I believe. Yeah. So you can design on anything. We're designing an album now. At any point, you can just hit File, New, let's say we wanted to design a 600 by 600 pixel something for the web, with a transparent background. So we have a transparent background, and let's say we want to make a grid right here of 2 by 2 squares. For example. So, you can design on anything you want. And I think that was the question being asked. So we're designing on a transparent PNG right now.
I got a couple more questions if you want to address them before you
Yeah.
move on. It says, can you talk about the space text box you just changed from 60 to 20?
Yeah, so the space text blocker is the amount of pixels between the boxes. Okay, I have my default set at 60 right now. Usually most users find they find that they have their favorite spacing. And so if you go into your settings, so I'm going to change my default spacing to 20 pixels on all of my modules. And you can also set your default keylines. Let's say you like 8 pixel keylines by default. You can set those up as your defaults. And then when you open up Ninja Layout, you can see my default spacing is 20. Let's go ahead and just build a design right now. And you see that it came up with my default keylines automatically. So once you figure out your own design style, you can set it up to design how you want to design it. Set your default spacing, default keylines, etc. And then let's go ahead and let's pull this one in. And most of our extra functions that we've added have come from photographers because they're designing. They're like, hey, I need to do this because of this situation. And this is a nice little fun one that came up with when you're designing an album and you're like, you know what, the bride's just looking the wrong way. I need her to look into the spread instead of out of the spread. Go under Enhanced Design and just say flip the image. And we just flip it the other way. So she's looking the correct way. Hopefully she doesn't have a birthmark and notice that, but it's a nice little trick.
While we're on the pop-out feature, does that working on the original or the virtual image? That's one of our questions.
Both. You have your choice. So when you select the images and you pop out the images, you have the choice to pop the selected, which would be the virtual image that's in the design, or you can open the originals. So a lot of people some people want to work on the original so that when they've done all of their editing and save, they can also use that saved image for a print, if the bride and groom order a print. So they're not doing the double work. So the answer is either.
Got a couple more questions just flooding in here. Can you drag and drop?
You cannot drag and drop simply because Photoshop does not support drag and drop into layer or clipping masks.
Can you speak a little bit about smart objects or resizing images safely?
Yep. These are not smart objects. If you're sizing down, you're going to experience no problems whatsoever. If you do want to zoom in on an image, you can zoom in. I'm going to say use the originals, and I want to zoom in on these images. And then you'll see that it's going to pull them in larger. The reason that I would love to do smart objects too, the reason we can is smart objects lose their smartness when you mask them. And the reason we want to mask them is we want all of our boxes to be perfectly aligned all the time. And so you see, to overcome that zooming function, we've just added the ability to zoom in on an image as it's being pulled in.
Got another question. Once images are on the page, can you move them around? For example, switching the big image on the left to the smaller image on the right.
If you are switching two images that are the same size, I'll show you. I'm going to swap these images that are the same size. Okay. If you're swapping large and small images, usually what I do is I'll swap them out, And then, but one of the problems is the small images become bigger, and that's a problem. The big images that's become smaller is really no problem at all because we're downsizing and it's not that much. But I want to make sure this is the biggest resolution possible. So I'm just going to take that image and I'm going to fill it up again. So I'm going to swap them. But if I ever go small to large, I like to refill it just so I have the biggest image possible.
Thank you.
Yep. Any more questions, or should I proceed?
Let me see. It says, let me see what this one says. Can you show me the zoomed image again? What did you click on to zoom it in?
Yep. So I clicked on an image, and then we have an option called Fill Advanced. Let me go ahead and start another spread, and I'll show you how that works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a custom design right here. I want this image that I have selected to cover almost the whole spread. So I'm going to select that and go big. And I'm going to do a quick one-up. And then I also have a vertical and 2 horizontals. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to go Ninja Layout, and I'm going to do a column maker. So I'm making columns of images. So I'm going to do a column of 2 horizontals and then a column with 1 vertical. And so you can see once you get the concept down, it's just super, super fast. And let me get some images in here, and then I'll show you that zoom feature. Okay, so that one I want number 4 and number 3 and 1, 2. Perfect. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do you think it's more efficient to be editing the images prior to the design or doing it on the fly?
Usually what I do is do my recommended workflow in general, whether you use any of our programs or not, is to do all your raw processing in Lightroom, export to JPEG so that you have the full resolution JPEGs to work with because they're so much lighter and faster. I'll do basic editing before I just start the album design, and then design the album, and once it's approved, then I'll go in and do more involved editing if it's necessary. So let's take this image right here. I think it would look better if we zoomed in on it. So I'm going to select this image. I'm going to click Fill Advanced, and one of the options is Use the Original. And then another option is to zoom in. So I want to zoom in about 125%. So it's just going to zoom that image in a little bit, and I'm going to move that around right there and then lock that in. And then you see a fully, we zoom in here. Let me get that. Here we go. So we have, very clear, clean images here, even zoomed in. And then, some people have questions about backgrounds. We have a dedicated black background button. You can choose any color. You can sample colors from the design. This isn't going to look very good, but it'll be a good example. You just throw a white background in there again. There we go. And save and next.
So if you do a major, I'm so sorry. If you do a major,
ahead, yeah.
If you do a major change of a spread in Photoshop and then save it to an outside folder, does that mess up the save and next function?
Well, the thing is if you, and you save it out to a separate folder?
Yeah, that's the question.
No, it would not. It wouldn't go into that new separate folder, but it wouldn't mess anything up. Yeah, and remember, everything's saved as layered PSDs, and so let me show you. I'm going to hit reset, and it's going to close everything down. right? So let's imagine I shut off my computer, I go home for the weekend, and then the bride comes back and says, oh, I have changes. So I'm going to say I want to open a previous album. We're going to go to the webinar here. I'm going to open this up. And I put in 004 because I want to open spread 004. It goes right to that spread, and you can do any changes you want. And you save out the PSDs. You know, if you're doing changes, just save onto the original PSDs because they're layered Photoshop files. And then when you're all done, you have all the bride's changes all done. We're going to click Process Album to JPEGs. I'm going to choose that folder, hit OK, and it's going to save all those out as level 12 JPEGs to be uploaded to Leather Craftsman. So you can, I forgot to close that spread first. There we go. And it's going to save all those out at level 12 so you can upload them to Leather Craftsman and go have a beer while they print your album for you. Or a glass of wine. Or a coffee if it's the morning. So, and you know, you see, you just go have a cup of coffee while Photoshop's doing the work for you.
This is fantastic. Getting a lot of positive comments in the question zone.
It's all about speed. It's all about making really beautiful designs really quickly, getting them to your album company so that each and every album is as profitable as possible. You know, it's you know, we're in business, so it's all about getting profitable workflow. And so here you see, let's go ahead and just show what we've designed. And we've been going for about 45 minutes, and we've been talking. So here is 16 pages. We did 16 pages in an hour while we were explaining how the program worked. And they're beautiful spreads. Clean, classic. And there we go. So we can just upload that to Leather Craftsman right now and have it printed off.
That's fantastic. I'm getting questions about how much is the software, how long does the free trial last, that sort of thing. Do you want to address that?
Sure. So free trial is for 2 weeks. It's 100% functional. You can design as many albums as you want. There's no watermarking or anything like that. And then the program is $2.99. And that includes free upgrades through the version. As of version 3.8, basically, if you bought it from today going forward, it's only going to be a $19.95 upgrade for version 4, since we're really close to the versions. And then that would get you all the way through version 5. It's $2.99. We also have a number of other products. So you can also get Album Builder in a number of packages that will reduce the price and get you more value with the other products. Somebody was asking about transparent backgrounds, and I think that's because they were thinking about using Album Builder for making a blog post, which you can, but this is our newest product, and people love this. This has been just selling like gangbusters. So this is for dedicated blog, making dedicated blog collages. And so you set your width, your background color. It can be transparent if you want, outer padding, key lines, etc. You hit create, and then it's mix and match. So I'm at, vertical, horizontal, you just add a row. It pops open, you choose your images, and you get a vertical here. And a horizontal. And these blog collages are great teasers after you do your wedding. Okay, and then let's say I want another vertical here, and then I have 4 verticals, and you just keep building rows as long as you want. It's really fun, and it's a blog collages are a vertical paradigm instead of going across like albums. But it's really fun. It's just super fast. I'm just gonna choose some random images here just to speed up the process for you, but you can see. And then when you are all done, you can just add your logo. I've already chosen my logo here. Just choose add logo, and it's going to pull your logo up and put it in there. That's my logo. You can pull your own logo up. And then when you're done, you just hit save, and saves out for the web. And it's a great teaser for, let's say you've done the wedding, you've chosen like 8 to 10 really awesome images that you want to tease the bride and groom with. You just make a quick blog collage and throw it up. Let me pull my desktop up so we can see that. There we go.
That's cool.
So that's a nice little fun companion. We have a package with Blog Collage and Album Builder, and that was our best-selling package last month. This is our newest product, and people are like, they're going crazy for it. It's really fun.
Got a couple of questions about the some more of the functionality.
Sure.
I don't want to interrupt you. Are you ready for another question?
Yeah, go for it. Yes.
What is the black and white sloppy, and what is the button mode? There's a couple of questions came through.
Oh, black and white sloppy is if you want to lay over a black and white sloppy border. Like, let's say you have some sloppy borders, you can throw those on. Let me pull up an image here. It's a bit manual. It's a really old function, but it was requested. So let's click on black and white sloppy borders. Let me go find a border here. I have them saved somewhere. Give me just a moment to grab one. I haven't used sloppy borders so long, I'm forgetting where I put them. Let's see here. Sorry about this. I don't have any. Where did I put them? Oh, there we go. Found them. Okay, so I'm going to grab a sloppy border here, and it just throws it onto the page, and then you can place it over the image where you would like it. There are dedicated sloppy border programs like On One Software has, which I really recommend if you're into sloppy borders, because that gives you a lot more choices and a lot more control. But there you could see the sloppy border on the image.
I do have another question.
And then, yeah, what was the other question? The
button mode.
Button mode. That those are just toggles. Like, let's say you have your action palette open. Right, this is your action palette. The button mode will switch that to button mode for you.
Oh, okay, got it.
It's just a quick toggle for actions.
I have an emailed question about drop shadows or backgrounds with various opacity layers. What about that? Jerry wants to know.
So I believe I showed you. Just a second. Let me pull this file back up real quick. With the background intact. So remember that we are in Photoshop, and so opacity is just controlled by your layers. So you can either go into your layer palette, and we have this background selected, and you can adjust the opacity in your layer palette. You can see it being adjusted right there. Or a nice little trick is when you have the background selected, you can just hit your number key. So 5 is 50%, 8 is 80%, 9 is 90, 0 is 100%. Or you can, if you want 78%, you just type in 78 really fast. And it goes to 78%. So that's how you control opacity. If you want to do drop shadows, we can just select these images here. Let's select all of these. Under Enhanced Design, I'm going to click on Keylines, etc. And actually, I'm going to do multiple effects because I want keylines and drop shadows. So you probably noticed this is the same dialog you have in Photoshop when you're making your layer style. So I'm just going to make this black really big so you can really see the changes. And then you click on the drop shadow, and I'm going to make a really big drop shadow here so you can see. Let me make it. All right. Okay, can you see that drop shadow there? I know it's really,
Yeah.
really ugly, but I made it really big and ugly on purpose so you could see it over the webinar. So you can make a drop shadow and you hit OK, and it's going to take that style and apply it to the rest of the layers. So really flexible. So any drop shadow and keyline you can create in Photoshop, you can batch apply multiple images. And if you don't like what you like, you just hit clear and it's going to clear all those for you. But if you want a nice drop shadow only, let me make a nice one. Drop shadow, opacity, let's go with about right there. That should give us a nice, simple drop shadow. So really flexible.
Perfect. Now, working with Photoshop, I got a question. What versions of Photoshop does it work with? CS3, CS4?
Question. It's CS4 and above.
Okay.
CS4 and above.
Here's a good question for kind of both. Go ahead. Do you have additional parts to
I
that?
was just going to say we were CS3 compatible, but some of these new functions we're adding they're no longer compatible with CS3. So CS4 and above. If you're on CS3, upgrade to CS5 because content-aware fill is magic, which is part of CS5. Go ahead.
I guess this is kind of for both of us. As a new photographer, I've yet to design my own album or print with LC. How responsive is the customer support for this software? I'm sure I would have lots of questions. So if they have questions about the album builder, then they really would direct that to you, right?
Exactly. And let me show you our website. Let me just say, if you go to fundysoftware.com, you load this up. It's probably going to load a little slow because we're streaming from my computer at the same time over the internet. You'll see we have this little red support tab. You simply click on there. You type your question. It's going to come up with some answers for you. If you don't like those answers, you just say get in touch, and it says, do you want to chat with somebody or you want to submit a support request? And you're live chatting with somebody. And if for any reason you do not get somebody or you need to call, our number is right here. 503-214-2233. So call us. If you do any research on us on Facebook or Twitter or anything, you'll find out that our support is second to none. And that's my spiel, because I really hate bad support. I called Verizon once to cancel my cable TV service, and they canceled my internet.
Oh, man.
And as an internet company, I cannot survive without internet, and so I was on the phone for 2 hours because nobody could turn my internet back on. And so I hate poor customer service, and so that motivates me to try to have the best customer service around.
And Leather Craftsman Leather Craftsman feels exactly the same way. If you have any Leather Craftsman questions, you can email me. My email address is david@leathercraftsman.com. If you go to the Leather Craftsman website, go to the contacts page. I'm the first guy in the middle column. And Leather Craftsman likes to pride itself on providing excellent customer service. The girls and the guy that answer the phone at either LC East or LC West, they're not going to be so versed in some of these technology things like this software like this. So I'm probably going to be your best bet to contact me. And if I don't know the answer, I can certainly find it or point you in the right direction. So definitely want to give you great support.
Yeah, and we're the same way. My email is fundy@fundysoftware.com. Mike at fundysoftware.com is our head of support. If it gets really technical and I can't answer the question, he can. And we're, I think David feels the same way. Our job is to help photographers succeed, because if you succeed, then we succeed. If we don't have and help create successful photographers, we don't have a business.
Absolutely
right,
right.
David?
That's
Right?
that's absolutely right. The
So do our very best to help you guys be successful.
I've got one last question for you.
Sure.
This one was asked earlier, and then I accidentally deleted it. It's like if you
Okay.
wanted if you wanted to add another pic to this, are
Mhm.
you able to without choosing another template?
Oh yeah. So for example, let's say I wanted to add another photo here on the right hand side.
Right.
So let's just do that. There are a lot of ways to do it. I'll show you. This is the quick and dirty, easy way. I'm going to select both of these images and I'm going to make them a little bit smaller so I can make room for that third image, right? And then let me show you a nice little trick. If you hold down your Option key on your keyboard, it duplicates whatever you have in Photoshop. So I'm going to hold down the Option key and I'm going to duplicate that photo, right? So I have a duplicate, and then I'm just going to click the fill opening. And let me go to my images here and add another photo. So that's the quick and dirty way. If you want it, you at any time you can, move images around, and you can just keep designing on top of this. So I'm going to say, oh, you know what? I want to put in a long horizontal right there. And fill it up. So you can just keep designing on top of designs. So there are no constraints that way.
Fantastic.
Pull that in there.
What else would you like to show us? This has been a very, very good program, Fundy. I really appreciate your time and
Oh,
to
well, thanks.
explain it.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how committed we are to photographers to succeed. And the only thing that I really want to leave you with is, I'd encourage you to download the free trial and give it a go. And if you get stuck, hop on support. We think you're going to love it. Once people clue in and they get ready for it. I had a great email from Jason Group, who speaks at WPPI, and one of his assistants was using it for the first time. And this is her quote. She said, "At first I was ready to throw my computer through the window, but then I got it and I designed a 40-page album in 35 minutes at the airport while I was waiting for my airplane."
Oh, that's
Right? 40 pages at the airport in 35 minutes. Um,
fantastic.
so, but to leave you with one thing, if anything at all, visit our blog on our website, because we have design tips, how to use backgrounds. We have featured photographers, featured work, uh, tons and tons of design tips and business tips, how to sell, how to price. Um, all of these, Leather Craftsman's presets have been added. Um, don't have a projector but still need to do sales sessions. We have just tons and tons of just business information for photographer to help you guys grow your businesses. Everything from selling to help you out with SEO, uh, internet marketing, just across the entire spectrum of wedding and photography business.
Thank you very much, Fundy. I appreciate it, and I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. That's going to be our time for today.
Yep.
I have recorded this. I'll mix down the audio. If everything looks great, you'll get an email in a couple of days, and it'll be on the Leather Craftsman YouTube channel, and that URL is youtube.com/leathercraftsman. And you'll have a link to that. So if you want to watch it again and some of your questions, if you want to email them to either me or to Fundy, that'd be fantastic. And I hope everybody has a great day and an awesome weekend.